Alright Josh, you may be wondering why I called you over here, why there's a chainsaw on the table, and what we're doing today.
Cutting a trail.
I wish. We are going to be running some rugged off-road trails this summer for the Onyx Rugged Adventures. And because of that, we might find ourselves in some situations where we need a chainsaw. What I don't like about carrying a chainsaw in your rig is there's not really a good way to store these things. They're kind of an odd shape and they just don't store well. You create a chainsaw mount, I'll create a chainsaw mount. You get this camera, I'll get that camera, and we'll record our progress, record our thoughts, and what's coming to mind.
Okay, mine's already done.
Yours is already done?
Yes. It's the simplest, best, easiest thing in the world.
You're just gonna throw it in the toolbox?
No, ratchet strap. It's transferable from vehicle to vehicle. You can put it anywhere you want.
Okay, if it works, it works.
I mean, it would work, but in the spirit of doing this, I will try and create something. But
for the sake of this challenge, you can use anything in the shop. I've also bought some of these bar protectors, and I was thinking you get bonus points maybe if it fits all of the different rigs. So right here we have the BleepinJeep. Right there we've got the Comanche, right there we've got the Scorpion Crawler, your Bumble, which is not here, but maybe it could fit that, and maybe even bonus points if it fits the tractor.
Okay, I know these have been here all week, so you got a head start thinking about this and planning for at least a night.
You overestimate my planning abilities.
This is true.
I haven't been thinking about this one bit. You have to leave at 5:30? Your phone's dead. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
We've got an hour and a half. Let's go. All right. I don't even know if these are even going to fit, actually. Haven't even pulled them out.
Fits.
That fit. We're going to have to share the chainsaw because I don't have enough. We've got an 18-inch bar. We've got this protector that can go over it. There's not really any good way to mount a chainsaw other than to secure the blade, I think, because everything else is kind of made of plastic. So my thought is to make some sort of, maybe something like this, but out of steel that this can slip down into, and then maybe something to hold it or clamp it tight. So I need to find some sort of rectangle tubing maybe. I think that'll be perfect. The only issue I've got is how to make it clamp to different vehicles. How to be able to take it off this vehicle and to that one. And for that, we've got something from Barnes, I think, that might work. We have these tube clamps. They're kind of heavy though. That's the only thing I'm not sure about, is how heavy these things are. Let's open one up and take a look. Those are pretty cool, although it's a little heavy. But it would clamp at least to the Scorpion, the Comanche, the BleepinJeep, and maybe to the Bumble.
My thoughts. I have no idea what I'm doing, but we have a protector. We have a chainsaw with a hole in the bar, so we'll probably incorporate that hole in the bar. For attachment points, we have a handle, not too much down there. Think of mounting solutions here.
Alright, looking for scrap. Not really seeing. Oh, I kinda need that, but maybe in a something lighter gauge. 1/4 inch is just too heavy. You know what I need is probably that tube that we carried over there to the other place. I need a piece of that.
These are the fire extinguisher mounts, so something like this could come in useful. I think that might be a little heavy for one of them.
We gotta be done by 5 because we have to have 30 minutes to wrap it up.
Okay.
Look what I found here. But it's not quite there. It's so close. I think I can make it work though. Maybe. Would go over that without the protector.
So, yeah, we're gonna base them off of these, but I need another one. Matt,
What?
I need another fire extinguisher mount.
Another fire extinguisher mount?
Yes.
Okay. Call Hope.
Okay. Hey, Miss Hope, would you happen to have any fire extinguisher mounts up there?
Possibly. I'll go check.
Awesome. Sweet. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with them yet. I see him going for tube clamps. And I had that thought too, but there's one reason why I didn't go for it.
I think I'm going to use this anyway and figure out how to either squish it to make this bigger, or I'll just cut it open and re-weld it so that chainsaw will fit down through here. How much do we need to secure a chainsaw? Maybe about 6 inches?
Okay, I'm getting a plan gathered here. I have some clamps. That one should go over a tube. One of the issues is the Cherokee over there doesn't have the same size tube as the other Jeep, so it needs to be able to clamp on different size tubes. That's why I didn't think tube clamps would be a good idea. But we've got these guys.
Now I got to figure out how to open that up to slide that in there. It needs about a 1/2 inch maybe. I'm thinking heat. Heat might do it. If I heat this side and then pound it a little bit. Or I could maybe use the press. Let's try heat. What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be helping?
What? Call? I'm just gonna go take a nap.
Are you getting outside assistance?
I am.
Oh man.
Thank you.
Lunch lady is delivering more than just lunch.
I'm a girl of all trades.
Hope came through. Got me a couple fire extinguisher mounts. All these tabs here for mounting shock, stuff like that. This random bracket, don't know what this was for. Part of a seat belt. If I had another part, it'd make a good strap. But we're gonna need a base that these attach to. So I'm thinking a piece of pipe. I'm gonna find that, and my brain's gonna continue to come up with something.
All right, let's see if this will work.
I think I'm gonna go with square because we don't have anything round that's big enough to fit over 1 3/4 inches. Cut a section out of square that should fit over. Make the clamp so it'll kind of fit down inside it, and that will be the base. It needs to be almost as long as that chainsaw, and then these are gonna mount to this. This is gonna mount on a tube. These mount to this. There's going to be a base plate here, and the chainsaw is going to mount to that, I think. Base plate material. I got to go steal the chainsaw. We're going to trace it out on here. Got forged in fire going on over here.
I feel like I'm on the show. Ooh, that's hot.
Okay. Lengthwise, gonna need from here to here, to where that hole is, because that's gonna be a mount. Just gonna kind of trace the shape out. Not much of a definite plan. Sort of making it up as I go.
Forged in fire, baby. I think I'm ready for the show. Yeah. All right. Let's see if we did a good job or not. Oh yeah. Look at that. Fits nice.
Now, if I had time, I'd do all these fun curves, but there's no time for that.
Okay. You're making a lot of noise over here.
I am.
I think what I want to do next, yeah, drill a hole in this, and then I'm going to weld this nut, and then I'll put a bolt. That should cinch that sucker down, hopefully keep it in place. That's the plan.
Cut this angle and this angle.
I feel like I'm in a rush, even though I don't know how long this is going to take me. I might be finished in 15 minutes.
Yeah. Kind of had the same thought.
I've just never built one of these before, so I have no idea how long it's going to take. Plus we got to do the camera work as well, not just the building process. We need a camera crew.
Isn't that what I was for?
Yeah, what happened with that?
All right. There's our base plate. I gotta think of what to do next.
Alright, I got a hole cut in there. Take some of the burrs off the inside here. There we go. Now, I need to weld this nut right there. First I want to grind that zinc off a little bit so that I'm not welding that zinc plating. Alright, got the welder. We'll turn that on about 1/8 inch, I think should work. Alright, instead of having to have a wrench, I want to put some sort of a big T on there where you can just do it by hand, so you don't need a wrench to get that undone. So what could we use for that?
You can see how it's sitting on there. I want to make a lock back here and one up here using that hole, possibly one right here. So right there. Okay, so if you use this top hole, I'll be able to cut this flat. And cut that right there. Right on that line.
You guys see any good handles in here? Oh, some rebar. Not a great handle. Maybe something over here. Oh, look at that. What's that? Oh yeah, that might be pretty good. I think I'll use a piece of this. So this is, it's called double D for steering, for making steering linkages. So I'm gonna cut a piece of that. Actually, I think I'll bend it a little bit first. Let's see how much of a handle you need. Probably about that much. So I'm gonna bend it right there. That ought to be enough.
Test this out. I cut it too short. I think that's going to be okay though. Kind of wanted to stiffen her up here anyways.
Okay, so this will go in here. This will get welded to the top of that to make a nice handle. I could actually use a shorter bolt. That only goes in that far. I need to make sure that's going to clamp. I need to get the chainsaw. Chainsaw goes in here. This goes in here. And it screws down. And I need a bolt with a deeper thread. Either that or I'll have to weld onto the end of this bolt if I don't have one long enough. Let's go take a look. This might be a problem.
There we go. Piece of angle that raises that up and that stiffens this up, because mounted on the bottom of those, that is going to be these. I'm making it harder than it needs to be, I think. Why would we even need these? When you want to take it off, you just detach it here and back here and right here. My thought was to mount these to that and to that, but you would still have to undo this.
Can I borrow your chainsaw real quick? ½ inch. Looks slightly longer. I think that's gonna do it right there.
Okay, using a different piece of angle.
What are you doing?
Weld that to that.
What are you doing in my space over here?
You need to get on to Miller. This piece of angle will kind of help hold things together. We'll just put a piece of rubber or something soft there.
Okay, let's see if I can get this right.
Okay, that takes care of the front. Drilled the hole in there. Maybe something along these lines. Weld that into there. Now that won't clear. If I notch this down, then this would just lock in once you set it down. So we have our pin, and if I weld it in here like this, you can't get the chainsaw in there right now. So let's do it right like that. And notch that right like that.
Okay, so now we've got this, and we've got a T-handle to hold that in place. The only thing we need now is to figure out how to attach this to a roll cage or whatever we're going to attach it to. I'm thinking maybe something like that.
So we're gonna go with this for now. You can always get a bigger one. Could also always drill this out so that that fits inside it. I don't know how hard it'll be to drill this, but we have a press. I think that'll do it. Should we go with wiggle room or no wiggle room? Maybe we'll go with wiggle room, because it's gonna hit this. So yes, we're gonna use that hole. Gonna drill that out. Perfect. Now this, we'll go through there and then lock. Just like that. Now I need to weld this in.
So the tricky part is going to be getting this thing to mount on different vehicles. I could mount it on this vehicle just by welding it here. Of course, then I can't transfer it to a different vehicle. I'm thinking we could use this tube clamp here and here, weld this onto the tube clamp. The problem with that is different angles. So this angle might work great for the Comanche, but maybe this angle might work better for a different vehicle. I think I have a solution for that. It's going to add a little bit of extra. If we could be able to rotate this in any direction, that might be kind of nice.
I think I'm going to go for the same concept in the rear. It's not going to be able to pivot. It's not going to be a solid mount like that. But this and the hole is just wide enough that it can go right there and down tight and lock that in. Two more basically of those, one on each side here. And then this pin can go in and lock, and that'll lock the rear in. So you need to get a width here and a height. And I want it as tight up this way as possible. And it is a little short.
I'm kind of thinking if it's in line with the tube, it might work on all cages. So right there would work. Let's see about the BleepinJeep. That would work on here, or even down here, or out here. So in line with the tube would work there. How you doing?
Doing good.
All right. Wouldn't be able to slide it out there. Might have to go like there or there. Yeah, that might work. Like right there. Okay. I'm trying to get away with not having it be able to tilt, because that just adds a lot of complexity to it. Now the tractor, on the other hand, is a different story. But what I could do with the tractor is weld something onto the roll cage so that maybe there was a tube coming out at a 90 and then this clamps to that tube. Or, check this out. I bet you those tube clamps would clamp right there. It's kind of in the way of that though. It's gonna be hard to make it fit all 4 vehicles. 4:38, we got 20 minutes left.
What?
22 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be done.
Time goes by really fast.
I'm just gonna do it.
2 little 1/4-inch wedges. These are going to be my spacers to lift these up. Kind of see how that's going to sit. It's going to go right there. Weld this just in the right spot.
I was thinking about having a tube inside of a tube, cutting that real short, and then drilling a bunch of holes all the way around it. And then you would be able to weld this to this, this to this, and you could clock it any direction that you wanted to, because this tube would slide inside of there and be clockable. It wouldn't be that difficult, but drilling all these holes and lining them up might be... Should I do it? I don't know. Should we extend our time, or should we go with the 5?
I think we're going to have to extend the time because there's no way I'm going to be done.
Okay, we got 40 minutes left. All right, so I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for a clockable. Not tight fit, but I think I can manage. What I can do is weld a couple of tacks on here, and then it'll tighten that up.
Bridges are welded in, and they fit really nice and tight. So we now need to figure out exactly where these need to go. And they're going to have to be parallel because the pin's got to go through them.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tack this tube inside of that tube so that when I drill all these holes, they'll be perfectly lined up. That's the goal anyway. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to drill a bunch of holes in this. One down, many to go.
It's gonna work. Be very tight. Okay, here's where we're at. Base plate's done. The actual mount for it is done. Kind of. It's not pretty yet. Got magnets on there. And then it should just sit into that. think that'll hold it. You can see it actually fits in there really tight, which is good. So we're just gonna go with that. Now I need to figure out how to actually mount this to a tube.
First attempt was a fail. What I didn't account for is if all these clocking holes aren't perfectly at the same place, you're not going to be able to clock them because they have to be done almost like you are machining them. So I don't know if I can do that with the tools that I have, especially not in the time frame I have. Let me see. Let me try one more thing. I'm going to take calipers and try to make this a little bit more precise. Let's try that. It's still way off. I think what's happening is the drill bit's going through, hitting the other side, and then kind of tweaking and coming out in a different spot. There's no way that's going to clock. If you were to just try to clock it, the holes then wouldn't line up from clock to clock. So, I think that's out. Can't get my clock perfect. My clock is broken.
What I would like to do to make it easier, 3 U-bolts and kind of sunk down in there like that. This would be welded down in, and then you just put the top on and tighten it down. The only problem is I only have one. Once I cut the top of this out so that it's U-shaped, I'm gonna use this itself to clamp it, and I'll tighten them up, put a bolt through, and then it will squeeze the whole thing together. Do 3 of them, 3 bolts. And then I need to cut one section out of it to make it a U.
Here's another thought for a clocking mechanism. Then I could do a set screw. I'd be worried about that set screw coming apart, but that would be a pretty good clocking mechanism. So for now, I'm just gonna do it vertically like we talked about. In that case, I'm just gonna weld this to here, but I'm going to weld it offset a little bit because the way this works is you have to come in from both sides with your set screws, one on this side and one on this side. So I'm going to have to weld it in a way that I can get the set screw in on both sides. So something like that.
There's our 28-inch piece. Voila. Got Matt's money worth out of that one. We are about out of gas.
Okay, I'll make sure this is straight. Looks pretty even. Pretty good. Alright, I'm just going to weld the 2 sides in case I want to ever come back and put that clocking mechanism back in. I'll just be able to cut it on either side. Okay.
They're all welded on, and they're super freaking hot.
And time in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Hurry up!
Am I out of time yet? I think I'm about out of time.
Time is running out.
What's running out's the run, I guess. Can weld that more later. It'll hold. I'm done-ish.
5, 4, 3,
Done.
2, 1.
All right, Matt, what'd you build?
So here's what I came up with. I came up with a tube clamp, and on that is a piece of 2x4 box. It wasn't big enough, so I had to melt it a little bit and widen it a little bit. On top of that, I put a bolt, a big giant bolt with a T-nut on the top. So the saw just goes in like this, and then you tighten it down here. Basically, it's gonna hold the bar steady, and that should hold it just like that. What do you think about that?
Nice and simple.
I planned on making it clockable so that if this angle didn't work, you could clock it. But as the audience saw, my clocking ring wasn't right because you'd have to have some sort of a machine shop to get all the clocks perfect. Otherwise, it doesn't work out. But I think that'll work.
Any downside you see with it?
This clamp is kind of weird in that the screws come in from opposite directions, so it's really hard to get to this backside. I had to do it at an angle. Other than that, I guess the only downside is if this were to come loose, that might affect things, or if this nut on the saw were to come loose, because there's only one nut that kind of holds the bar onto the saw, or the saw onto the bar. So you have to make sure that nut and that nut is tight at all times.
I like that it's compact, so if you don't have the saw in there, it's not taking up a lot of room.
Yeah. All right. What did you come up with, Joshua?
A monstrosity. Taking up a lot of room. Where'd it go?
Where'd you put it?
It's a little bigger.
It was just this plate. What happened at the end there where you added this?
I needed a way to mount it.
Okay, that's the mount.
That's the mount. That goes on.
Oh, I see. Those are your clamps.
Those are my clamps. It can be upside down.
There's the saw. All right, tell me about your version of the chainsaw mount.
I wanted full support from front to rear, so I just did a plate and have it easily lock into the plate. I wanted it to be able to be removed quickly, so just pull the pins and it'll come out. But it's definitely bigger, but it will work on all three vehicles. There is a section in the Scorpion in the back that it'll go onto. The hard part for either one of ours is that's 1.25 inch tubing on that thing.
Even on the interior?
No, that's 1.5 inch. So if there's a place that we can find to mount them on the inside.
So this is 1 3/4. This is 1 3/4. I think that's 1 3/4 on the interior, right?
1.5 inch.
So the way that you get around that on these clamps is you add a little bit of rubber on the inside. Even the power tank mounts come like that with like a 1/4 inch piece of rubber. If you tighten them enough, it might pinch onto 1.5 inch tube.
It probably would.
And you got magnets there?
Magnets to hold the
clips.
These things get lost, so just put them on the magnets.
Any downsides to your design?
Yes. If there's not a chainsaw on it, that's a lot sticking out there. I suppose you can strap something to it. But the other big downside is it works with this chainsaw, and this chainsaw specifically. If you got a different chainsaw, you'd have to adjust this one and maybe that one. Don't buy a new chainsaw.
All right, I got to keep this exact chainsaw. All right, so I thought it was interesting how we both came up with very different designs, completely separate from each other. Actually, nothing was in common, I don't think, which is kind of interesting when we build Jeeps. We always kind of think together and put ideas together, whereas these ideas were separated. All right, so let us know what you guys think. If you have other ideas of chainsaw mounts that you'd like to see made or that you think would be a better idea, let us know in the comments below.
Does anybody make them? Do you look? Are we reinventing the wheel?
No, they make them for like tractors and for ATVs and things like that.
Okay.
Like four-wheelers for people working on their property. They're very expensive.
Right. These were very cheap.
All right. Let us know what you guys think. We'll see you next time.